Good afternoon, LinkedIn. Welcome to the studio here in Stockholm. I want to take 20, 30 minutes of your time, if you don't mind, on this busy Tuesday afternoon, but I wanted to talk to you about something that I find quite interesting and I've had a few questions about recently. So what can B2B learn from B2C to boost sales and brand when it comes to video and live shopping specifically? Super interesting subject, and I see out there a lot of companies trying to figure out how to do live shopping and more video in the conversion cycle of them selling their products and services. And I think an interesting thing is to learn. What can we learn from B2C specifically that could carry over to B2B to help businesses grow with this media? We also need to think about AI, of course, which we'll cover in this discussion. And I'm not doing it alone. I actually have a world-class expert when it comes to e-commerce and conversion with us. His name is PJ, and he is from the incredible company from Sweden called Vimo. They're now a global e-commerce provider. They are a fantastic company working with a number of huge brands, building their web stores, working with them on conversion. So we have got the perfect guest with us today to run through this question. What can B2B learn from B2C? So with further ado, let's bring out PJ. Where is he? There you are, with coffee in hand.
There you go. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, Dan. How's it going?
Hi. Yeah, good. Thanks, PJ. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's jump straight to it. What can companies learn from, do you have any examples of B2C companies crushing live shopping and video first, and then maybe we can talk about how those things carry over to a B2B environment?
Yeah, let's try to unpack it bit by bit. I mean, there's a couple of things. You mentioned live shopping, which is one thing, and then video in general, which I think is another thing. And of course, there's overlap there. And then the question I get all the time, and I'm on stage now and then talking about this exact topic, like what can B2B learn from B2C, and why is there a gap? Should there be a gap? So forth and so on. So we're just let's start with just video in general. I think live shopping I think is interesting, and we might
Let's do that.
Let's get to that later. But in general, video or not, I think yes, you're absolutely right. I think the brands that we track and the clients, the brands and retailers that we work with, we see video is working absolutely, particularly in driving engagement. It triggers more of the brain. You don't have only visual. You have to engage more of your brain than the visual part. There's an auditory part, and there's movement, and there's a lot more of cognitive processing required to unpack or decipher a video.
There was a technical lag, I think, going from picture to video, right? In the actual. It took some time for brands to be able to have rich
and we're still
media.
not there. It's still like we're still in a world where the web is slow and laggy, and you have to wait between you tap and click something. You've got to wait for a couple of tenths of seconds or maybe even seconds sometimes. So and it's a bandwidth problem, it's a hardware problem, and it's a general.
And load time is still an issue.
Yeah,
load
still
time
we
is
still
critical.
we still don't have perfect uplink. We still have weak devices. We still have different types of hardware capabilities in our handheld devices and even desktops and workstations. So there's always that, and video is heavier to get from the source to your handheld device or to your laptop. So there's that, and there's all kinds of things in terms of different browsers and different operating systems. So it is a lot more challenging to present a smooth video experience on a screen than a still picture, of course. So there's that, and we still have that. There's still a big discussion, or it's always a discussion, whether you're trying to present a product or brand experience. Like, we got to make this instant. Users do not accept wait times or lags at all these days, and video is going to force the user to wait just a little bit, even just a few seconds or less than that. There's always that in the mix. So there's always, unfortunately, a technical side of this. Video is expensive and hard to get to the palm of your hand or to your screen, and it's expensive to make. So images, we've all grown up with that. We all know how they look like, how they work. It's basically pixels in 2 dimensions, and those are static. You send them once, you can cache them, and they're a lot more lightweight. to produce and to deliver to the user, of
Where,
course.
if you had to pick one place to have a video on a web store, where would you want it to be? A product video.
I mean, one of the things that we try to, so when we work with brands and B2C, like consumer type experiences, we always try to put a couple of key metrics in place and to figure out whether what we're doing, what we're putting out there on the screen is working or not. And one of the things that previously was called bounce rate, where you wanted a low bounce rate. You had users that came to the site and immediately left. That was a bounce a few years ago. Now, these days, Google Analytics has changed the metrics around a little bit. They now go by engagement score or engagement rate, I think. And it's essentially the same thing. You want the visitor to stick the landing. And I think this is super crucial still. One of our key KPIs across all of our different engagements or types of engagements. And this is where you want to engage the user, get as many neurons fired up in the head of the visitor as possible to get them to kind of stick the landing, do something more than just have one view and leave, or maybe click. And video is always triggering a little bit more of your activity, and it drives a bit more engagement. So that's what typically one of the things we see. So you want to do something interesting or engagement right at the landing, whether that's the homepage or a specific landing page for an ad or whatever you drive the users to. Video on a landing page is always going to decrease bounce rate and increase engagement if it's fast enough and if it's relevant to what I'm expecting to see, right? So,
yeah, and I guess it would make sense maybe to have a best-selling product or something, a feature product there with a video, with the kind of use case of the product. So if it was Helly Hansen, it would be a jacket being used up in the mountains, like that kind of hero video.
Yeah, but I think to me there are different things. To me, there's one thing to stick the landing. You wanna present the user with something inspiring, engaging, and something exciting, wherever they come from, when they put the first foot inside the store. I think that's one of the things you typically see is that there's a gap in terms of the experience from an ad or from if you're on a social app or on YouTube. You see something that's very vivid, very engaging. A lot of things. There's video, like I don't know how many screens are moving versus still screens on any random social media app, but everything is moving in apps like Instagram, TikTok, and these guys. So often ads are very, very vivid and they're highly produced and they're very interesting. And you hit the ad, and if you land on a dead site that doesn't move at all, it's a still image. If you're lucky, it's resembling the ad that you just saw, so it's a relevant landing. But if it's dead, that itself creates like a gap, because a discrepancy. Like I came from a TikTok flow or something that was just firing up all my neurons, and I was super engaged, and I hit this link that I thought looked interesting, and now I'm on a dead two-dimensional stock pixel kind of experience. That's another thing. That's one thing that we always try to look at, like what are the entry points to the store? Because not every user is coming in through the homepage, even though there's a lot of focus often put on what you think in terms of the physical world as the main entrance. In digital, there's so many different entrances to a site, and that's one thing that we try to coach our clients, like make sure that you minimize the gap from where the user is triggered to visit you to when they actually put their feet or walk in the store. That's got to be relevant or cohesive in one way. So that's the first place I would put a video, also because that could be made generic, and that could be simple transitions or simple small animations or just simple things just to resonate better with the world that the user just came from. Yep. The other thing you said, just product videos, that's another thing. That's called, to us, we think about like exploring the product or figuring out a product or getting a feel for the product. And that video has a completely different purpose. That's on the detail page or the PDP, as we call it. Because shopping is highly tactical. At least as long as there are humans doing the shopping, like on flesh and blood, we're super tactical or tactile. We got to feel and get a sense or almost smell or put the garment or shoe on or glasses, even though you don't need to do it these days. We like to do it.
Yeah, the product. The product page is really interesting because that's where you start to get close to the cart, closer to a transaction. And we often make product videos for our customers for the product pages, because that's something to work with. You're not dealing with the fluffiness of a brand video. You're actually, okay, we have a product here now. We need to sell this product. So what are the core aspects of it? No. So showing the details with video, it's much easier with video than doing that with photography. And I recommend to our customers that they take two approaches. There should be two videos on the product page. One should be an extension of the images, so like a more detail of how the zip works, or details of the the fabric, close-ups. But then there should be an explainer video in there as well. In my opinion, you should have ideally a representative of the brand. Maybe a designer of that product, or even the founder, or someone from the team should be taking you through the details of the garment, and or if it's a fashion item or whatever it is, holding the customer's hand through the journey and removing any anxiety they might have in that cart, because they're very close to pushing the button to buy it, right? So do you agree with that? Is that a good theory?
Yeah, yes, of course. I mean, you're coming from the video point of view, and I absolutely agree. There's a lot of things that video will solve or do a lot better than a still image, or even a 360 spinner, or an AR or VR experience of the product. But in essence, what you have to, at least this is our guidance to most of our clients, like most of the time, there's a person there behind the screen or the keyboard trying to get a feel for the product. Explore the product, or maybe just answer a question about the product. How does it look inside? How does the zip work? Does the hoodie fit over my helmet? How does it look when I move, if it's a long dress, for example? Or how does the other side of the shoe, every possible angle, you want to answer all these questions that the user might have as effectively as possible. And some of the things still images do really well, like high def images that you can zoom in and pan around, or give a really, really close-up shot of a particular detail of a product. And some of the things video do better. So I think there's a mix that both need to be there. I said, one of the go for it.
So something that blows my mind is that you quite often see on YouTube much better product videos by independents than you do from the brand themselves.
Yeah, that's the thing.
How do you feel about that?
That's another gap. It's super common that as a brand or a retailer, I'm stuck in my own kind of echo chamber. I'm schooled to do all my product shoots perfectly. I do retouched, I do lighting. It's expensive. I do it only. I don't do it every day, or depending if I'm a fast fashion retailer, I probably do it all the time, 24/7. But product photography is, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the people behind the knobs or the keyboards. We're older. We grew up with photography. Photography is what, like 200 years old, as Annie mentioned, or Taki mentioned. Video is newer, and I mean, I was born in the late 70s, grew up in the 80s, where photos were kind of magical. Not everybody had a camera, and the first ones that had a camera had Polaroids going on, or instant cameras, or these kind of. And I've been in labs developing, black and white and even positive film. And that is completely gone. The kids and the consumers of today, they don't have any reference. To them, video is as easy or as natural as a still image. So that kind of, there's a lot of, a picture paints 1,000 words or 1,000 words, or these kind of things. This is old people like us talking. The new generation, they grew up with video. Everything's moving. To them, it's like weird that a still image can't move. You see that with if you have a Samsung or an Apple phone and you take pictures, everything is live. You can even you catch a couple of frames or a couple of seconds before and after the actual when you actually pull the trigger on the camera. This is, to someone growing up right now, there are no such things almost as a still image. Everything is live. Even the photo you take on your phone is a video. You could loop it or change the actual frame that you wanted to catch.
Yeah.
So I think
there's a generational lag, a generational lag then, where maybe the decision makers on some of this content and where it lives are still have basically carried on with the studio shoot, photo shoot mentality into video, which is why you still see quite stale and non-creative videos on product pages that don't really inspire too much.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something there. I was looking around before we jumped on here just to see what's going on the big ones that I track. So one of my things that I do for one of the things I have as a job task is to just track the big ones. What are the big fashion luxury brands? Sport? What is everybody doing out there? And one of the ones that I usually go to is Zara. I think they do genius stuff all the time in terms of omni-channel, app, web, everything digital. I think they're one of the absolute trailblazers in the space, at least in the fast fashion. And what they're running, the current campaign on Zara is of Steven Meisel, like one of the world's best known fashion photographers. He is the at least on the Swedish side, he is the kind of current promo or the current campaign. But there's still video in there, but it's still this like we hold photography, we put it on a pedestal, and to us it's kind of so sacred. But I think that's going to die out. The kids of today, they're born with screens in their faces, and everything is moving. Everything is a video, and if it doesn't move, it's either like, where do I put it on? Where do I enable autoplay again, or how can I touch it so at least something moves? It's going to be weird for someone growing up now in a few years to come across an experience where everything is a still image. That's going to be very weird.
Yeah. So how do we? There's so many examples in B2C of good execution of product videos. To take that into a B2B environment? Are there any kind of big wins for businesses out there that could, do video better, or even just do video? Maybe they're even further behind.
Yeah. So I've done a number of talks and discussions on this. So one of the things that I always go back to, that it doesn't matter whether it's B2C or D2C or B2B. In the end, at least most of the time, still there's a person, a human of flesh and blood, that's operating a digital interface with a cursor, with the fingers or keyboard, sometimes a paper catalog or something else. But in the end, it's a person trying to figure a product out or answer a question about this product. As I said, how big is it? How does it look on the back side, inside? How many pockets are there? How does this little detail operate? And this looks like something I could toggle. How does it look like? So it's always a person trying to figure out what a product is. And in that sense, it doesn't matter what context it is, whether it's D2C or B2B, as long as that question is the main thing that the user has in his or her mind. Like, what does this product feel like? How does it work? What does it almost taste and smell like? In that sense, there's no difference. If you're a B2B company, and your users, your customers will have these questions, you got to answer them in the exact same way as a direct-to-consumer brand does. Images, technical specifications, 360 spinners, and video. Video is super effective to do in a few of these cases. That's one thing. It's always a person in the background trying to do the exact same thing as at his desk or at at home trying to shop shoes for her kids. Same thing. Video has a clear value there. The other big thing in B2B, the big difference in B2B is there's often a misconception that the average ticket price is a lot higher. There's a lot more at stake. Conversion is even more important. And that can certainly be true. But a lot of the time, B2B is like, I'm placing a replenishment order and then I'm going to buy 10,000 boxes of screws and nails or metal parts or whatever. I don't know exactly. I don't need to know anything about these products. I need the inventory level, and I need to know the shipping time so that I know that when it hits my shelves again.
So it's not an emotional decision; it's a practical. Got to get these 1,000 widgets ordered.
Yeah, so I don't think the video has, or even like product data per se, has a value in B2B there. One of the big differences among our B2B clients that we see, one of the challenges that they have is launching new products. You can't have your customers ordering the same screws and nails and metal parts. You're launching a new product type or line or category, and you need to educate your customers, right? And this is what you have traveling sales reps, traveling around and doing live demos to their customers. So, hey, this is how this product works, and you want to place an order, or replace this with something that you already replace something that you already have with this. So,
the video has a key part to play there. Video
super important. Yeah, we've seen great success. This is one of the things where video is really working in terms of digital. Product demos, demonstrating how to sell this product even, or just explain the new product for your customers is something that is typically still done live with sales rep, zigzagging the world, visiting all their customers with a bag, and they unpack it and they do the demo live. So video is super important and easy to do here. So I think that's a big difference, and you don't have that kind of scenario in a direct to consumer world. So I think demos, just launching and explaining new products is an area where B2B is definitely.
Yeah, and you can get a much faster return potentially in B2B if your average purchase value is, it could be 10,000 euros, for example.
Yeah.
and if it's cost you €1,000 to make a detailed product video, you're going to get a fast ROI on that investment. So B2B is quite exciting when it comes to video. I also feel that the journey for a customer in B2B is probably more predictable than B2C. They're not shopping on a Saturday morning, with a hangover. It's less complex in some ways, and you perhaps offer, maybe there would be like 4 or 5 use cases for the purchase of your product rather than 500 in a B2C environment. So I think that gives us as content creators the ability to perhaps make a version of the video for perhaps 3 or 4 types of customer, and then allow them to see that at the right time.
Yeah. And absolutely. And the scenario you just mentioned, that a lot of the time you see better video content of a given product on YouTube. Someone else made it, a review or an unpacking video or unboxing video, these kind of things. And the users know this. So whenever I'm researching a product, I go to the brand or the retailer I want. I see 4 images. I don't see the backside. There's no video. I hit it up on YouTube or just Google for it. And I get a ton of different video descriptions of that exact product. This is the same thing I think is true for a B2B buyer or a B2B user, because a B2B user is a person that person also does personal shopping. And it's super important to keep in mind that even I'm at my desk at my office placing a ton of B2B orders, and then I go home and I go to Amazon when I get the stuff delivered the same day almost, with almost zero touch. I could just tell my speaker to get something for me and I have it within a few hours. That's also important to remember, that the person behind the screen trying to do his or her job is also living in a D2C, highly polished, super seamless world of e-commerce. And if there's a big gap between how that person is ordering shoes for her kids and how I'm placing an order for my business, that's a problem. That's a great
point. I like to use the example of Netflix. The cost of a Netflix subscription and the value you get for that. €20 or whatever, you then carry that over to other services that might charge €70 a month, and you just can't connect with the value discrepancy in the cost. It carries over. As you say, we're all human beings, whether you're in a B2B or a B2C environment. You're still, Amazon has kind of broken the mold and set our minds into a certain way of thinking when it comes to any click, transaction, or swipe. We're set in a certain way. This is awesome, PJ. We're sort of running out of time. I wanted to bring in live shopping as well. There's a lot of chatter about the future of live shopping, and we're seeing some incredible things in China with regards to live shopping in retail. And the big question is that going to spill over into the wider world? And how is live shopping going to, is it going to come out from the beauty segment and retail into other areas? And how could that also help B2B conversion, sales, transactions? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm smiling a little bit, because live shopping to me is like, if you're in the US, QVC, or TV shop in Sweden, or is it kind of the TV show that these days only, like, I think grandparents or even our grandparents or parents can relate to, especially if you look at what's going on with the likes of Walmart and Amazon and a lot of brands doing this. It feels extremely like outdated or just weird and wrong. But I guess it works, at least for the boomers. I have teenage kids that do. I try to figure out how they do their shopping. I glance over their shoulders whenever they do their stuff. And I haven't seen anyone doing live shopping or even mention live shopping ever. Sure, there's live events and live streams, but that's typically from the normal influencer doing something, or they are live with their friends on video. But I don't really.
I think where we're not perhaps seeing yet is, the algorithms now on these platforms are getting so good at learning what we like and what we want. And I think what your analysis there is correct, but you're maybe perhaps thinking, like the chances of someone putting up a live stream, a live shopping event that you're going to click on and want to engage with for 15 minutes in the middle of the day and then buy something, it just sounds so far-fetched. But if the algorithm knows exactly what you want and when you want it, and when you're most likely to engage in a live shopping experience based on previous transactions, I could see a future where, you are in a particular niche and it knows that you're looking for that item and it's an offer on, if you take part in the live stream, the only way to get that 20% discount is to be on the live stream.
Yeah, for sure. There 100%. There are definitely scenarios or use cases where live shopping is extremely valuable and cannot be replaced with anything else. The general thing I'm questioning is like even live. Like what is live on you go to Walmart or YouTube or Amazon, and YouTube also has live. But is it really live? How can you tell? Or what's the difference? Is there a difference? Do I care if it's a 10-second lag or 10-day lag of something that's really relevant to me and that feels tailored and that feels someone is talking to me right now? I think the concept of live is also going to change, especially with synthetic videos. Someone can, like, in real time soon, I generate a video that feels like someone is talking to me right now.
So a bit like e-commerce became omni and then it all disappeared because it's just retail. Like what you're saying is that live is not going to be a thing anymore. It will just be another touch point.
I don't know, but I can only reflect on my own reactions when I jump into an Amazon or Walmart live feed. It says live, and I see these guys, and it feels like they started their broadcast just when I stepped in the room, and there's no way that happened. But it's just live for me.
I think it works if there's a strong FOMO element to it. I think it's going to work for all businesses. If you can bring a FOMO element into it and give people a reason
for a different for a particular set of products, I think, because the other thing with that is it doesn't scale. You can't have a live broadcast for 1,000 visitors across 24 hours. It's live for the ones that are there then, and you have to redo it. So then you have to tape it or record it and play it with a delay. But 100% for certain events that are truly live and where there's a FOMO and where there's a value for me being right there when it happened, definitely has value, and it's for sure.
I also have a theory that maybe you could comment on. We're going to see an abundance of AI generated content flow in. It's already happening. I think a year from now, we probably will be overrun with AI generated video in our feeds. I feel like live could be an antidote to the fatigue
100%.
Of the authenticity of AI generated content.
Yeah, no, I think there's going to be a strong, or at least a resurgence of authentic, unedited, non-synthetic video, images, texts. There's going to be a retro movement of within the digital space, 100%, because we. Right now, it's kind of interesting and cool to see something where you can't really differentiate whether that's a real photo or AI generated, even video or voice. There's synthetic media everywhere right now, and I think we're going to be pretty fed up with that quickly. And we want authenticity. I think that's also in human nature. Shopping is tactile.
Homegrown food always tastes better than mass produced.
Yeah, at least that's what we think, right? But I think even for the younger generations, there's going to be a hunger for authenticity, and live is a part of that, I think.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I think we're almost out of time. I think, to dissect that a bit and think about the takeaways, I think just there are no specific tips other than, all businesses and brands need to think about how video plays a part in the conversion journey of their customers and loyalty. What you said about, new products, updates, you can't afford to leave your customer for 6 months to find out you have a new product release. It's too competitive out there. You've got to let them know before the product's released to build up, interest before. And video and live content is a great way of doing that. So.
Here. I think just my main point, I think, that I try to make in the beginning, that we should stop thinking in terms of still images versus moving images, and that one is easy and we grew up with that and put that on a pedestal. The moving images are expensive and they're different and they're slow. Yes, they're a bit slower, but the tech will solve that hopefully soon. But I think it's time to really put yourself in the shoes of a 12-year-old or 15-year-old consumer, and to them there are no still images. Everything is moving, so it's weird. It's almost like we're forcing the user from a TikTok world to a digital shopping catalog where things are printed. It's going to be a weird experience, and I think that's what more brands and retailers should think about.
The final thing I was going to also say was I think businesses could unlock the knowledge equity they have in their businesses more. What I mean by that is that the kind of like content has been siloed in marketing for way too long. But you have these, what I find is you have these incredible people hidden within companies that have deep knowledge on products, particularly in B2B. You know, they've been doing the job 15 years and no one knows that product and the customer's needs better than that person. But they're kind of like kept away. Maybe they do store visits, but we encounter them all the time, and they stand out to me as an external. Like, that person is ready to go on camera. Like, they are they're a product specialist, but because they're not in marketing, they don't see the light of day on a video. Yeah. So I think companies could become a bit more flexible and start to see their own teams as content generation opportunities. I know during the pandemic, there's a Swedish retailer, Kjell & Co, who did a great initiative using store staff to actually produce live content. Yeah. And you know, that because no one was coming in the stores, so it was kind of a cost, but they had to think creatively about how to get value for those members of the team and keep them employed. So they had them doing live streams since they're product experts. And that's a genius way of releasing that talent and knowledge.
I love that example. It's another great example of this tearing down old walls that we have. I mean, in the mind of a 15-year-old going to Kjell & Co or any site where I know there's a physical store, there's a brick and mortar version of this, and I know there's people there. Why am I forced with a two-dimensional stuck pixel experience when I know there's someone behind the desk probably waiting for the next customer? I want to get in touch with a real person who can tell me about this product now. That's also very weird. Like, why can't I do a FaceTime now with someone somewhere in a store? That's also a weird experience to someone who's growing up now. I mean, we understand it. It's challenging, and video, we got to put a camera and lights everywhere. But Kjell & Co did it beautifully. I think it's a great example of just getting rid of these old trains of thoughts that we have. And misconceptions about how hard
and, as you said,
how vital things should be.
As you said at the beginning, people buy from people, whether they're in a business environment or a consumer environment. So that's probably the biggest takeaway from this discussion, is that how can companies think about using their own teams to perhaps make that amazing product unboxing video that they've been leaving to random people on YouTube to do? Is there someone on your team that could make that video better and drive conversion that way with the human element to it?
Yeah. For now, as long as the humans are the ones doing the shopping, there's value in that. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
That's the seed of the next conversation. Super. Thank you so much, PJ. Really appreciate your time on this Tuesday afternoon, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Here. Thank you.
Have a good one.